Welcome learners to this session of BA Honours English Part 3 Paper 6. Today's topic is Love Song of J Alfred Prufrock by T.S. Eliot Lecture 4. J Alfred Prufrock is an unhappy and frustrated man. We already know. We are already in the last segment of the poetry. He leads a humdrum routine life full of ennui and boredom. Though he is conditioned by fashionable life, he seems to be perturbed of the superficiality and the miserable existence he is leading. Beside his cocoon and isolated in that alien world, he has a range of more or less complex feelings that he is unable to communicate due to his inhibitions and timidity. He reflects over his thoughts and suffers. Prufrock is a mask, a person through whom the trials and the tribulations of the modern city life are spoken of. T.S. Eliot used this as a voice to express the issues and the themes he was pondering over. One of the themes developed by the poet is that of boredom and futility of modern life. The reader gets an intense worldview of the modern setup, the city and the world, where we lead our everyday lives, where Prufrock lives. The existential frustration of modern life delving into another important aspect of life, the problem of communication. This is shown by means of the existing question in the poem, which is never asked, but it is to be found everywhere in the poem. The speaker cannot get his message across. Who is the recipient of the message hardly matters. The idea being that communication has failed. It fails here. And the failure of communication is related to the theme of the individual's isolation, loneliness, and estrangement from other people. Prufrock is alienated from this world like Guido, and like the patient etherized upon the table, line 3. He should have been a crab scuttling across the floors of silent seas, line 74. The theme of lack of communication and understanding that Prufrock voices in his monologues has a close relationship with the way the poem is written, its style and structure. According to a critic, Leonard Unger, there is a statement in the poem which suggests this connection between the problem of articulation that Prufrock suffers and the mode of composition Eliot chose for his poem. It is impossible to say just what I mean, but as if a magic lantern threw the nerves in patterns on a screen. T.S. Eliot, like Prufrock, does not clearly say what he means. Instead, like the magic lantern, the poem shows different corners of Prufrock's psyche in no particular order. There are the streets, the room, the fog, the room again, etc. And all these images are put together, they give the meaning of the poem. There is a logical structure in the poem, despite the fact that it is divided into several sections. There is only the structure of the flow of thoughts in Prufrock's mind. The poem is based on the free association of ideas and images without connective and transitional passages. It renders the flow of impressions, which are visual, auditory, physical, and subliminal, that impinge on the consciousness of Prufrock, a technique similar to the stream of consciousness of Prufrock used by James Joyce a few years later. Eliot's technique in this poem is like that of a collage composed of juxtaposed images. Prufrock is made out of different elements, images, literary references, lyricism, brutality, remarks, the beautiful, etc. The whole sum of the elements build up the meaning of the poem, while the reader is delighted in trying to rationalize the association of elements. The love songs of J. Alfred Prufrock is certainly modern in its tone and diction, a new kind of poetry with irregular rhyming verse, paragraphs, free verse, new themes and attitudes are to be found. In spite of the different influences of the English metaphysical poetry, the French symbolist movement, or Henry James, the poem is intact in its originality. It had a great effect on modern literature, as the critic John Berryman, quoting the third line of the poem, he said, with this line, modern poetry begins. And with this, we come to the end of this session, and the poem is complete. So, till we meet in the next session. Thank you.